What's your go-to game when you're chilling with your friends? Unless all of you play a lot of video games, I feel like for most people it's some form of party game, whether that be Call of Duty Zombies, Mario Party, Mario Kart, Smash Bros, Halo, Jackbox, or something else in that field. There's obviously a reason that these games are so approachable. They're generally extremely simple to pick up, but also pretty fun to play regardless of the skill level of those involved. If you played 10 seconds of Jackbox or 10 years straight, you would have virtually equal chances of winning. That is the essence of a good party game. That isn't to say that the chances are purely equal. By having some knowledge beforehand and having more practice skills, you definitely get some kind of advantage, but generally the games that you play with friends are ones where everything at least feels like you all have a pretty equal chance of winning, like maybe a 40-60 split if I had to put it into numbers. It's also pretty important to have a lot of varieties so things don't get stale. For example, in Mario Party, most of the minigames are decided by chance, and most of the Mario Party games have dozens if not hundreds of possible minigames you can play at the end of any given round, with the main game being pretty much completely up to how good your dice roll was and only loosely based in logic and skill, with things like item purchases and alternate paths giving you a minor advantage over others, but generally not enough to decide entire games. Now I'd like to ask you, how would you apply the fundamentals of a party game to a battle royale while keeping it fun? Most people, myself included, wouldn't really know. Battle Royale doesn't seem like a genre that could really work with party games. The only idea that could really come to mind would basically be Mario Party-like minigames with extremely simple controls, but that just seems boring. That's what Fall Guys is. The game has extremely simple controls. You can move around via WASD or a control stick, you can jump, dive forward, and grab people. That's the only movement throughout all the minigames, nothing more and nothing less. And it's beautiful. This is probably one of my favorite party games of all time. The best part, it used to be $20 on Steam, but now it's completely free on Epic Games or your console of choice, whether that be Xbox, PlayStation, or Switch, coming with crossplay included, which was pretty nice of Epic Games to do right after they purchased Fall Guys. Fall Guys hits what makes party games fun really well. It has a ton of variety in minigames, and constantly rotates out minigames to make sure that none of them get particularly stale. The controls are always the same and easily understood by anyone, even people who pretty much never play games. Most importantly, however, most of the games don't give an inherent advantage to people who do know a lot about the game. There are some exceptions to this rule to some degree, like the Spleef minigame where you have to survive on hexagons, where knowing how to stall out super long gives you a pretty big advantage, and obviously having some knowledge of the minigames ahead of time gives you a bit of an advantage because you can kind of plan your route ahead, but generally someone with no playtime has just about the same chance as winning as someone who has 10,000 hours because they try to randomize the games as much as they possibly can, with the many minigames even having random elements of their own that can change every time you play them. The minigames definitely aren't always super great, and I found myself getting annoyed at some of them and feeling like my losses were extremely cheap every now and then, but because of the solid amount of variety and how often they swapped out the minigames and kept adding new ones, I never felt mad about any game in particular, and it's also kind of unfair to expect that all the minigames they put out would be bangers across the board for everyone. I'm sure some people really did enjoy the games that I personally didn't. The only minigames I definitely found problematic that I think most people can agree with me on were the team ones. Basically what happens is that you split into 3 teams across the whole lobby, being red, blue, and yellow team, which are also generally uneven teams, with blue having extra players and yellow always missing some players for some reason. To make it worse, of these 3 teams, only one team loses, meaning that 2 teams will almost always bully the third, so if you're on blue, you probably get a free win since no one would target a team with extra players, and generally on yellow, you get targeted hard because it's very common knowledge that there's generally less people on yellow, meaning that if you spawn on yellow team, you have to fight extremely hard to pull off a dub. This targeting of the yellow team is so insane and widespread that even the Fall Guys developers acknowledged it over the years, across many different tweets, such as this one, and other joke tweets even joking about deleting the yellow team at some point. Luckily, these types of team games rarely show up in rotation anymore, likely because the devs realize they suck, but it can be pretty annoying if they ever do show up repeatedly, which only really happened once to me so far, but I'm sure will happen again. Overall though, the Fall Guys developers do a pretty good job making the minigames feel fun. The physics engine is generally really solid, and I can only remember a few times it bugged out across about 8 hours of playtime, which was generally when it led to people being launched when I lost internet connection, which was honestly just more funny than anything and kinda helped lighten the mood when I did lose internet. That combined with a party system to queue up with friends in, crossplay, a simple movement system, and the fun and ease of being able to grief both your teammates and random people by grabbing them for a bit or just walking in front of them for a bit of extra fun is genuinely enjoyable. The way this free game is monetized also isn't egregious, surprisingly. You can earn skins for free in some pretty frequent events and from free tiers in the Battle Pass, or by paying for skins or the Battle Pass, but unlike other games, I literally felt no draw to actually buy the skin. I only consider buying the skins to support the developers. The skins all look so goofy and they really aren't worth paying for, and luckily they don't offer any in-game advantages except for the Dead Among Us crewmate, which for some reason straight up cuts your player model in half, which isn't super abusable but does seem just like a moderate bit of unfair advantage in a handful of minigames. Although only a handful of people have the skin, and it doesn't matter for like 99% of minigames, so I guess it's not the end of the world, but I did find it a bit weird considering the rest of the skins generally did not give you any kind of advantage. And obviously, like any good game, this game had really solid sound design. There's always some kind of sound effect grabbing your attention and giving you information, like the walking, jumping, and grabbing sounds, or the players around you making noise as they run into each other. But never anything that's extremely loud or demanding too much attention from you. It's just enough going on to keep you paying attention to what you need to on screen. It's got some pretty solid music too, but I generally do turn off music in any multiplayer game, and this game is no exception, so it had very little impact on me other than being part of the reason I initially checked out this game. The only thing I think this game could improve on would be allowing people to both use private lobbies and to make their own custom levels and game modes, as I feel like a Steam Workshop level of modding scene would do wonders for this game's longevity, but I'm sure that's probably in the works considering how Epic Games have been doing a lot of custom content in Fortnite, their flagship game. That's pretty much it though. Fall Guys is an extremely fun party game that feels satisfying to win in regardless of your skill level in gaming as a whole or the time that you've committed to Fall Guys specifically. It honestly has been my go-to party game of choice whenever I feel the need to play a party game ever since it went free to play about a month ago, generally with other people. Although that doesn't mean this game isn't fun solo, it still definitely is. There is a slight issue with the console version and Steam version, for those who have it, being a bit more smooth than the version on Epic Games, but honestly it's only something you notice if you played the other versions of the game, and it's not really a quantifiable difference to my knowledge, like FPS or something. It's mainly just something that I personally felt when I swapped between those versions of the game, so it's really more of a non-issue, and I'm sure it'll get fixed over time as the version on Epic Games is pretty new, but I still thought I'd mention it for the sake of this review. The only real issue with this game is that it's multiplayer only, meaning that it relies on an active player base in order for you to even play the game, and it will likely have a player base of people that get smaller with every passing day, who constantly get better and better at the game mechanics as time goes on, making it a little bit harder to win. But if you have issues playing Fall Guys because you're not constantly winning, you probably have much bigger problems on a personal level, because it's not that serious of a game, even if it does feel pretty great to win in it. As this game is right now though, with its current content and player base, it is very easily a 3 out of 5.